looks like there's more sunlight out today, which is nice. And with that in mind, what's going on today? I guess I was reading how that Insta360 was potentially releasing something for, I guess, a drone before. Although the theory was it may have been a drone, but I guess confirmation, it is a camera for a drone. This one says here, it's the Insta360 Sphere, the invisible drone 360 camera. They have had products like this before where you attach, I guess, 360 cameras to the drone just to capture all the images around it. Unfortunately, usually you would see things like, I guess, the propellers and stuff within the shot. But this one, they claim it gets rid of it. And it says here, capture 360-degree invisible drone footage with endless reframing possibilities. The ultimate tool to level up your aerial videography content. So they show off a couple of videos, and as you can see, that's what it appears to do. Basically, it captures video and so forth where you don't see the actual propellers or anything. Now, the interesting thing is it almost looks like it's doing, like, for example, I guess drone dives and all that, but from the looks of it, it's just manipulation of the video. And the compatibility is kind of interesting as it only works for specific models, DJI ones in particular. For example, it says here in the specs, it works for the Mavic Air 2 and Mavic Air 2S. So it's kind of interesting to release a product that only supports, I guess, a small amount of drones per se. An immediate concern I would have is whether or not all the added weight on the drone will affect things like its performance or potentially blocking, I guess, things like sensors. Because for the weight itself, it says it's 192 grams, including the battery, I guess, with this whole system. So that's kind of hefty, isn't it, for like a smaller drone? And at the same time, it says, based on their material, it doesn't block things like the GPS. But again, it wasn't actually designed, obviously, for this to be on top of it, I guess, for the whole duration of the flight. But I guess if it works, it provides people an option as well to capture those types of videos. It almost looks like, again, it allows you to capture things like FPV types of views without actually flying like an FPV. And cost-wise, it's listed at $429.99. So would this be something that interests you? And in terms of drones, I thought this was kind of interesting, where apparently there was, I guess, a cruise line that decided to ban drones. Now they say it's because of one person, but just reading the details, it's kind of interesting to think about whether or not it's a good, I guess, business decision. This one here says, Carnival Cruise Line adds drones to prohibited items list. It says here, if you are thinking about bringing your drone on board your next Carnival Cruise Line sailing, you'll want to keep reading. The cruise line announced on Wednesday that drones have been added to the list of prohibited items, right there alongside electrical and household appliances containing any kind of heating element, such as irons, clothes steamers, immersion heaters, heating blankets, water heaters, coffee machines, hot plates, toasters, heating pads, humidifier, etc. And it says, why the change? Unfortunately, one irresponsible drone operator spoils it for everyone. And it says here, quote, I know there are some experienced drone pilots out there, he said, but there are also some inexperienced ones. There have been some instances recently where these drones have caused problems. We also had one recently where a drone pilot crashed very close to the ship in a port. And I guess with that, they tell you what happens if you bring your drone on board. It says, if caught in a carry-on bag, the security team that scans your bags when you first enter the cruise terminal will make you remove the drone and send you to a desk to fill out a form. Once the form has been completed, the drone will then be given to the cruise ship security team where it will be locked up. Guests will be able to reclaim their confiscated drone on the morning of disembarkation. That's the part that actually made me wonder in terms of you getting it back at the end of your cruise. Does that mean at the end of, let's just say, if it's a two-way trip back and forth, or can you actually get it back when, let's just say, you land at your destination per se to explore a bit, and then afterwards people will get back on and go back home? Because here it seems like they try to justify it further. It says here, drones are also not allowed in cruise ports. While the footage can be remarkable, drones are also restricted in many cruise ports for a number of reasons. Take Porto Canaveral, for instance. There is a lot of activity in the area, including Patrick's Air Force Base, SpaceX, the United States Coast Guard, and a Navy submarine base. In Port Miami, a good portion of the area is restricted because the shipping ports runs along the flight path to Miami International Airport. Rules may vary by jurisdiction, but if you are caught flying a drone on port property, it might result in the device being permanently destroyed by local authorities, a $5,000 fine, and you being trespassed from the port property. That's what made me wonder, what happens if the person was taking the cruise just as a form of, I guess, transportation per se. They had all the permission and all that to fly it, yet here, like I said, they're not allowing you to bring it on board. It says here, the more of the story, unless you have written permission from local authorities or the cruise line, which is near impossible, keep your drone home. And just a general thought, whenever I hear that phrase, people saying, oh, one person's gonna ruin it for everyone and all that, well, that can be true where it gets it on the radar per se. I mean, for people just to get rid of it like that in a blanket way, I think it's more due to the fact that they aren't affected by it in any single way. So it's like, hey, why not? Just like the perfect examples here in Canada, everyone always says, oh, one person was gonna ruin it for everyone when they crash into a plane and all that, correct? That's what they say for recreational flyers. Yet here, case in point, you had officials like police officers crash their drones into helicopters and planes, and no one says anything for the vast majority of people. They're like, oh well, it's an incident, correct? Because I pretty much guarantee, like in this example here, if 100% of the customers always carry, let's just say, a little toy drone or something like that, where they want to use it legitimately outside of the cruise ship, and they'll say, hey, if you ban this, we're not giving you business. You think they'll keep the policy like this? Heck no. They'll probably change it to something more reasonable, as I said, saying, oh, just please don't fly it while you're on the actual cruise ship, correct? I mean, it'll be the same principle and I guess logic, in my opinion, as an over-the-top regulation. Again, when people say, oh, one person will ruin it for the rest of you, I think it's more due to the fact that why are you allowing them to be like that, to use this one sensational example or whatever to ban everything, when clearly there are examples where it happens and they're saying, I don't care. So it's more about targeting, like, in my opinion, specific groups of people. Alright, see you guys later.